Hey everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I have a brand new case that I'm covering today that I haven't covered in my audio only version. So I will be uploading this if you want to listen to it as a podcast, and I'm going to leave the link to my Spotify, and you can find it on Apple Music and Google Podcasts, basically wherever you find podcasts. So thank you for joining me today for another episode of Something Dark. You're going to have to excuse the webcam quality. I am so sorry. But I do have my podcasting microphone plugged in, so hopefully it sounds okay for you. So with all of that being said, let's get into today's case. In July of 2014, a group of friends traveled from Germany to Varna, Bulgaria for a summer holiday. This holiday was spent like any other, relaxing at the beach, partying, and just enjoying their time off. Just one day before they were scheduled to fly home, something happened, and it resulted in one of the members of the group disappearing. What began as a carefree Eastern European getaway ended in a family's worst nightmare and a mystery that endures to this day. Today we're going to be discussing the case of Lars Mittank. Lars Mittank was born on February 9th, 1986 in Berlin, Germany. He grew up in Itzehoe in northern Germany. Lars worked at a power station in a small coastal town in Lower Saxony in northwest Germany. Lars lived a regular life. He supported his local football team, Werder Bremen, had a long-term girlfriend, and he was very close with his parents. After his father had suffered a stroke, he often helped at his parents' home after work. In July 2014, Lars and 4 of his close friends flew from Germany to Varna in Bulgaria for a week-long holiday. Varna is the 3rd largest city in Bulgaria and the largest city and seaside resort on the Bulgarian Black Sea coast. The group were booked to stay at the Viva Club Hotel, located on the Golden Sands Resort, approximately around 17 kilometers north of downtown Varna. Golden Sands is said to be the Bulgarian equivalent of Ibiza. It's increasingly popular among European tourists who are drawn to the area by the sun, sand, and cheap alcohol. Over the course of their 5 days, they spent their time swimming in the pool, sunbathing on the beach, clubbing, and playing football. It was the height of the summer, and the World Cup semi-finals were playing in every bar. The first 5 days of their vacation were said to be largely uneventful, with one friend, Paul Roman, saying that the week went by really fast. Then, on the 5th of July, Lars got into an altercation with other German tourists about football. The fight took place in a McDonald's after a booze-filled night. He was a Werder Bremen fan. They supported rival team Bayern Munich. He stood no chance. It was 4 against 1, and his friends were back at the hotel. Later that night, after several hours of drinking, Lars' friends went for a bite to eat at a local restaurant. Lars told them that he wasn't hungry and that he was going to head back to the hotel alone. However, later that night when the group returned to the hotel, Lars wasn't there, and he didn't show up until early the next morning. Lars told his friends that he had been beaten up when he was walking back to the hotel alone. He said that the German tourists that he had an altercation with earlier that night had paid people to come and beat him up. He complained to his friends that his ear was sore and that he was struggling to hear. When Lars was still suffering with an earache 2 days later, he went to a doctor who diagnosed him with a ruptured eardrum, as well as an injured jaw. He was informed by the doctor that he was in no condition to fly home, like arranged later that day, because air pressure changes in the airplane could have caused more damage to his ear. The doctor also prescribed Lars an antibiotic, 500 milligrams of cefprozil, and advised him to go to the hospital, which Lars refused. As the group checked out of the hotel at noon to head to the airport, Lars told them he changed his travel plans. Because of his ear, he had to stay put for a bit. Doctor's orders. It was no big deal though, just a temporary setback, and he told them he would fly home the following day. He told his friends to go on home without him, They offered to delay their flight until he healed up, but he urged them not to, and he scheduled himself a later flight. One of Lars's friends in the group later told German television that Lars was relaxed and in a good mood when they left him. He said he'd be all right. Lars, however, needed a place to crash in the meantime. The problem was it was high season, and nearly every room in every hotel was occupied. Lars struggled to find a hotel in the same area where him and his friends had been staying, and instead he booked a cheap hotel called Hotel Color in an unfamiliar and more run-down area of the city. He checked into his new hotel, and this is when he began to exhibit strange and erratic behavior. He called his mom Sandra from his room. He was whispering and acting strangely. He told her to cancel his bank cards because he feared it had been copied when he checked into the new hotel. Several times throughout the night, Sandra spoke with her son over phone and text message. She said that he appeared to be extremely worried and paranoid, and in one phone call, he told her that he was being followed by 4 men. Lars also asked his mom about a specific ingredient that was in the antibiotics that he had been prescribed. "I thought, God, my son is in danger," Sandra Mittank told German TV. "I could hear his heart pounding over the phone. He said people were trying to rob him or kill him." During some of the phone calls, Lars whispered as if he was afraid that someone was going to overhear him. He said that the hotel was strange and that he did not feel safe in Bulgaria. CCTV footage from inside the hotel captured Lars pacing up and down the lobby. It also captured him constantly looking out of the windows and even hiding in the elevator. It was apparent that he was terrified of something or someone, but the only suspicious person that was captured on the surveillance footage was Lars. At around 1 a.m., he was captured leaving the hotel for around an hour before returning back to his hotel room, and it's unknown where he was for this hour. When dawn broke, he called his mom again. He said that the people who were chasing him were getting close. "In hindsight, I should have asked him more questions," Sandra said, but his cell phone was running out of battery, so our final conversation didn't last long. Lars had become so paranoid that he had decided to try and fly home. Sandra had booked him a flight for that afternoon and purchased him a bus ticket as well in case he was unable to fly. She also sent him 500 euros, which he never withdrew. Lars waved down a taxi and rode to the airport. When he arrived, he texted his mom, "I just made it to the terminal." He was captured on surveillance footage entering the airport. He was carrying a backpack and his travel bag. He needed an okay from the airport doctor in order to fly. He dropped his bags on the floor and sat on a chair. He was still acting strange. It was just a standard checkup, Dr. Kostov said, but he was really nervous and erratic. Kostov examined Lars' ear. Everything was fine. He could get on the plane, but the paranoia festered. He didn't trust the medication he had been given for his ear pain, Kostov said. Looking back, the whole thing was bizarre. A construction worker entered the room. The terminal was being refurbished. But Lars started to tremble. He muttered something under his breath, and then said, "I don't want to die here. I have to get out of here." Suddenly, he leapt from his chair and exited the room, leaving his luggage behind. He was captured on surveillance footage running through the airport, past the boarding gates, check-in desks, and baggage drops, through the main entrance, in a frantic state. He ran across the parking lot, and CCTV footage outside of the airport captured Lars jumping a 2-meter-high fence and then running into a meadow and disappearing into a field of sunflowers located beside the Bulgarian National Highway A2. Lars's wallet, phone, and passport were still in his backpack in the doctor's office. All he had were the clothes on his body, a yellow t-shirt, jean shorts, and white sneakers. This was the last ever image captured of Lars. Later, the footage made national news. "Every time I see that video, I feel like I want to protect him," Sandra said. "I want to rescue him." Since then, so many theories have surfaced about what could have happened to Lars. A popular theory is that Lars was looking for an excuse to run away and start a new life. According to Dr. Todd Grand, a certified mental health counselor who covered Lars Mittank's disappearance on his YouTube channel, this theory doesn't hold water. Lars was on good terms with his family and friends. His friends had even offered to reschedule their flight so he didn't have to fly back alone, and he texted his mom throughout his trip. Lars also didn't take anything with him to help him start his new life when he fled the airport, leaving his passport, his phone, and his wallet behind in the doctor's office. Another theory is that Lars was involved in some kind of criminal enterprise that neither his loved ones nor authorities knew about. Drug trafficking, maybe. While this theory would explain why Lars was never found, there's little evidence to support it. Yet another possibility is that Lars was really killed. While staying behind in Bulgaria, he had told his mom that he was being followed. Many online sleuths suspect that the men that he fought with were still after him. If they were in pursuit, it could explain why Lars ran away. It could also explain why no one has ever found his body. A fourth theory is that Lars could have been under the influence of drugs around the time of his disappearance. A lot of people believe that the antibiotic that Lars was prescribed to treat his ruptured eardrum, possibly combined with another substance, might have led him to suffering a psychotic episode. As strange as it sounds, it's not impossible. Dizziness, restlessness, and hyperactivity are listed as side effects of the drug. On top of that, studies suggest that acute psychosis could be a potential adverse effect of some antibiotics. This could explain how the behavior of someone with no history of mental illness could have changed so suddenly. If Lars was suffering from psychosis, the antibiotic that he was taking may not have even been its direct cause. In his video, Dr. Grande proposes that Lars may have experienced first break psychosis or the onset of something like schizophrenia. This, he argues, would explain his paranoia, delusions, and anxiety. It could also explain the bizarre behavior displayed by him in the CCTV footage. While Dr. Grande believes the psychosis theory is the most convincing, he stresses that it does not explain why Lars ran away or why his body has never been found. After Lars disappeared, a week passed, then another and another. Lars had been missing for almost a month. Sandra hired a local private investigator, Andreas Gutig, who jumped on the case. He watched the airport video over and over again. Maybe the police missed something, but they hadn't. He contacted hospitals and homeless shelters. Perhaps without identification, Lars was simply a John Doe in some Bulgarian ER, but he wasn't. Gutig traveled to Varna and handed out missing persons flyers. Have you seen this man? 5'9", 180 pounds, average build. No one, however, recognized his blonde hair, brown eyes, or wide nose. Over the course of the past 8 years, there have been numerous reported alleged sightings of Lars as far as Porto Velho in Brazil, but each one tragically leads to a dead end. Sandra has never given up searching for her son. She strongly suspects that the injuries that Lars sustained in Bulgaria caused him to lose his memory and ultimately resulted in him ending up homeless. She has been extremely proactive in the search for her son. She continues to post updates on the Find Lars Mittank Facebook page and prints out thousands of missing persons flyers. While so much time has elapsed since Lars vanished, and there has not yet been a credible sighting of him, Sandra still holds out hope that one day she will find out the truth about what happened to her son. There's a good chance he'll come back, Sandra said. He just needs my help. That brings us to the end of today's case. I'm going to leave the link to the Find Lars Mittank Facebook page down in the bio, which you can follow for any updates. But please let me know your thoughts on the case, and if you have any cases that you'd like me to cover, please leave them in the comment section below. If you made it this far in the video, please give me a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching.